Hello everyone and welcome to Ginger Prime. My name is Brian if you're new around here, but if you're a returning subscriber, you know I'm on vacation this week and I've pre-filmed this video as a part of a discussion continuing on in the world of video games. If you guys enjoy these videos, be sure to like and subscribe for more of this content, but if not, no worries. I always like to try to make sure I earn your subscription. But beyond that, I'm diving into the videos that you guys have enjoyed the most, videos that have over 200 likes. I am going through and doing a kind of what we call a player feedback. It's where I highlight your comments and we discuss them and we continue on this dialogue around video games. And that is what these videos are. You'll see them kind of with a purple outline. You'll see them here on this channel a little bit this week. And then we'll be bringing this as part of kind of standard feature to the content schedule that we have rolling out forward. But I don't want to I don't want to pontificate too much on introductions. Let's dive in. Kim on the review bombed Diablo Immortal video says, the only thing positive about this quote unquote game, and I like using quotes on that one, bravo, is that this might increase the chance, by however little, that legislation might come into place to bottleneck or maybe even impede these quote unquote mechanics from being legal. As people like to point out every time, there's already occurring in other Euro countries. So first things first, when it comes down to that, obviously gaming is very global. Countries are going to have various different legislation, but I can speak essentially as an American, as a Texan in this case. So note that that's where my perspective and views coming up across from this. Outside of certain countries, I don't actually ever anticipate that actually happening here. Namely because, and nor do I want it to, I really don't necessarily think the government needs to have its fingers in everything. There's obviously exceptions to that rule. Like you could sit here and hear that phrase and you're like, oh, but Brian, what about driver's licenses? Brian, what about this? Like, we're talking in the realm of video games. Now, I do think that when we look at things like the ESRB is an industry formed to protect the industry. It's not here for us. The government is going to focus in on probably who's got the biggest paycheck. I'm not somebody with unlimited funds. And, if I did, yeah, maybe it'd be cool to have a congressman in my pocket, especially to tell me when horrible things are going on. That's just my cynicism talking, by the way. That's my frustration when it comes down to gaming, just government in this regards. But I don't ever sit here and say, I'm going to wait for the government to fix that. Like, I just don't ever see that being a reality. And, like we could always debate over like maybe they should, maybe they shouldn't. And that's all well and good. But I never sit here and put this like, oh, yeah, the government's going to fix it, especially if we get loud enough. More often than not, they're going to have a meeting. People are going to get paid. The lobbyists are going to get, engaged. People are going to make money. And the world really doesn't change. And yeah, that's the cynic in me, but that's just also the practical realist in me. If we really wanted to affect change, like it's going to take a lot more than that. The easiest way to affect change, especially when it comes down to gaming, is just not to talk about these kind of games. Outrage for the game itself is only producing more money for Blizzard. And all that they're going to have to do, and all that I see them doing, is that evaluating the state of it and then coming out making some changes to generate a whole new realm of like feedback and outrage and excitement and defense and all of that. Because when it comes down to marketing, especially within gaming, engagement is engagement. A like and a dislike is two engagements. It's 2 points, and they view all of it very, very positively, with very, very rare exception. Chu says, I couldn't agree more with both concerning the free-to-play and the free pass, the free press angle. I haven't even heard of this game was out until all suddenly my feeds were flooded with news about it, and the message that comes off of them is, it's a great game, but the pay stuff sucks. If you can resist it, you'll find a great game, and that's what's driving many people to it, and will continue to do so. Outside of the PC reviews being review bombed, you go and look at the Apple reviews and they're all still 4.5 and higher. And also the reports coming in from like app stores that they've already made easily over the course of this weekend 15 million, and you'll probably see that easily jump up to 20 and then 25 million, more and more. Even if they choose to announce it, it's going to be insanely profitable for them. And the reason is that gaming is so big and so massive that just being upset about it only then promotes it. And then the answer is that if you're really upset about it, you just don't talk about it. But the reward structure of content creation isn't built around that. You actually are, in the case, de-incentivized from not talking about it. So you can hurt your channel if you're not talking about what's going on. That's another thing I really am happy that we run things here a little bit differently. I don't have to, like, somebody was like, you want to do this full time? I'm like, I don't want to have to chase every hot topic just so I can try to catch some algorithmic relevance Relevance is the right word. You know, we say things wrong here. All right, Beard's your friend. Ever heard of the saying, bad news is no better than no news? And the more it gets talked about, the more likely someone's going to download it and possibly get hooked. Great video, dude. Thank you very much, Beards. And that essentially is exactly what we're talking about. That's exactly what happens, because essentially what you have is that, yes, the more upset and engaged gamer probably is going to avoid it. People were kind of memeing that they announced over 10 million downloads. How many uninstalls? Like, people are talking about it. You're going to like hear about it, and your friends are going to say, oh, and then they're going to go quietly download the game and kind of play around with it for a little bit, etc. And it's that weird viral Flappy Bird nature. Like, hey, don't play this game. And then people go and do it. And it's such an interesting human perspective. And the more we learn about it and the more social media has an impact on our lives, the more we go from there. Grey Knight says, I respectfully disagree that D4 won't see any monetization like Immortal. I didn't say that they won't, just to be clear. I said that the chances are we'll see like a box, etc. And then, yeah, they'll probably do a battle pass and they'll see some things like that. But I doubt we'll see as heavily influenced monetization. People are saying that that's the case. But, and then I also said that it could absolutely go the other direction, being that if Immortal is just like so insanely profitable. We already saw the announcement of D4 this weekend with the Xbox event. We already seen that, most likely it's come to Game Pass, and most likely it's going to have plenty of things. I heard there's a cash shop as well. So there are going to be aspects of it. The question is how heavily do they lean into it? And I think essentially you want to protect Diablo 4 as a brand, where Immortal in and of itself, it's like, it's there, it's mobile, you have that. But no matter what, there's still going to be people who get frustrated by whatever they do monetization wise. And that's, and then their frustration is going to only promote the game more. So that is how it's going to be. I can't imagine seeing after the revenue they made off Immortal that Blizzard won't find a way to monetize D4 in similar free-to-play ways. I'm not saying that it won't become a free-to-play game, but it won't be surprised to find a way that they add in some kind of microtransactions to it. I know that Alclon, Rurikon, and Asmongold have talked about this, and they're all certain D4 won't be able to avoid it now. I tend to agree, and I can't see how D4 will be able to avoid this kind of monetization policies now that Immortal has made Blizzard so much money. And yeah, I don't think that it's not going to have MTX. Again, I say that it very clearly every game will have microtransactions. I can see Diablo having a battle pass as an example, and I'll reply to him kind of directly later in this regards. But I could see battle passes being absolutely a part of the Diablo 4 experience, having that shared world, that seasonal content structure. I think that's going to be something we continue to see, and I don't think there's any escaping it. And so if you can't stand those kind of monetization systems, like, the best news is that the games that don't have those are awesome and are available. But one of the things you'll find yourself going against, and one of the things I relate with people who are frustrated by it, is that you're you miss out on being a part of that conversation and part of the kind of the community. And that's essentially kind of the marketing machine, the outrage machine, the content creation machine. Like, there's this incentive structure that is working against kind of our interests, but also that gaming is so vast that, like, the money in and of itself is like, even if you decide to walk, and let's say your value that you brought to the game is anywhere from $20 to $60, they're gonna not miss that $20 to $60 when millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars, are just sitting over here going like, yeah, that was great, that was a good decision. Brandon says, I knew it was going to happen when they announced the game and the devs were working on the project had a notorious reputation for pay to win in the games. It was designed for the mobile market culture, which is very pay to win, and we knew that mobile business model would be in the PC version because it's just a port. I plan on playing the game a bit, and so kind of go at the whistle while waiting for D4. Never bought into the Diablo Immortal hype. D4 will be far superior than Diablo Immortal. Is just a skin Diablo 3 filtered with microtransactions and to afford Bobby's next bonus yacht. I think Bobby's going to be perfectly fine with the Microsoft acquisition. I think he will be in the billionaires club when that deal closes. And when it comes to D4, like, D4 looks great. I've played it. I've been hands-on with it. I'm very excited for that as a game, as a shared world, open world, MMO light. Like, I've always kind of been surprised they haven't tried to mirror what Destiny did. Obviously not in a shooter space, but within Diablo in terms of its looter-ness nature. All right, Ecliptic says, I play on mobile and I'm not putting a penny into this game. I really like the game. I'm someone who plays and enjoys the game to play in the story rather than playing PvP and being a top tier player. And they Coldfire says, except that it isn't the point at all. The point is how predatory and disgusting the monetization on this thing is. And the thing is monetization is just not a Diablo or Blizzard thing. It's a mobile game thing. I hate and the hate on Blizzard alone isn't okay. The thing is that it is a Blizzard thing. It is especially an Activision thing. You look at every game that has been released, there is a monetization structure. And there's nothing wrong with a game and a company making money. The question comes down into it is that added pressure, especially in PvP, but that added pressure that makes you feel like you have to spend money, otherwise you're falling behind. And that's where things get really tricky. And that's where also gamers have done themselves a disservice by watering down what pay to win means. I've heard people label pay to win for the most benign things that you could possibly think of. Oh, that piece of glamour, that cosmetic is pay to win because I want to look like that, and I can't do that unless I spend money. Like, I can get like a core frustration, but because we've mislabeled the term, because essentially we've watered it down, you're never going to get any kind of unification. And gamers in and of themselves, the ones who are like, oh, I love it, I hate it. Like, gaming can be so addictive, like a drug. It's like you're sitting here trying to argue to a drug addict that, cocaine, is pay to win. And then all of a sudden you're like, well, yeah, like if winning is getting, is having the effects of cocaine, then of course it's clearly pay to win. The free-to-play model isn't essentially what you'd want in a cocaine experience. I'll let you guys kind of like run with that if you guys want to. Chili says, I think that this is the first that most companies have covered mobile games because they are saying endgame costs a lot of money, but this is how games often work. That's when they launch, the endgame costs a stupid amount of money, and then eventually the endgame will increase, and the old content will become free to play. Then a new set of endgame will cost money, and then you repeat it this way until the game dies. By the way, just saying how it works, and this should not how it should work, but it just hurts people who are vulnerable into the system. That's what you see with Lost Ark. That's what you see with a lot of these games, where when you do hit like the hardest of hardcore, you either have to like commit your entire life to the game, which players don't like, or you have to open up your wallet and spend money, which players don't like. But that's the nature of where we've come. We've discovered, that through making it free to play and doing that model, companies no longer are capped on a $60 per person. They can find that maybe they'll make $5 from, a group of people, or $10 from over here, but then they're going to make $5,000 and $10,000. In fact, there's already a streamer that's been quoted as spending $10,000 already on Diablo Immortal alone. And there's going to be more news articles and more of that stuff popping up and over again. As long as people are willing to consume the content and see what they get for it, there's always going to be people willing to whale. And that's kind of the thing. It's kind of the cynic and self-defeating nature that I like as a joyful and hopeful person. That's just where ultimately I'm like, yep, I'm just going to have my kids avoid it. And speaking of which, I've released my parents' guide on this game the other day. And, so that's essentially kind of what I view my role and what I can do as a gamer, is I can try to educate people as best I can on what they're about to step into, because I'm not here to control you or your money. I'm not here to tell you how to spend your time, what you need to enjoy and what to not to enjoy. That's just not what you're going to get from me. You will get my personal opinion on the subject, but I'm not here to sit here and tell you that you're wrong, because I think there's enough problems in the world when we talk about video games. We can talk about what's wrong with the video games, but like if you are going to engage in something that I'm not going to support financially, it's your money, and as long as you're spending your money and not somebody else's money, then you do you. Michael says, I agree that it is pay to win, but on top of that, I haven't heard from anybody about the gameplay itself. One primary 4 skills and 1 guaranteed burst skill. I haven't seen a way to customize them either. No dodge, no sidestep. Every game should have this ability to backpedal or sidestep. It's a technique when fighting. The story is like the Dollar Tree version of the Diablo game. Instantly, you come across a bunch of unknown characters that should have depth. None. It just happens that there are no build-ups. The boss battles are alluded to, that are important but not felt. Ryu, the Handmaid, the Witch, the Deckard Cain, the Scorn. It's almost like a gauntlet game. It does feel like a gauntlet game. It absolutely does feel like a gauntlet game. How long did this take? Way too long. D3 was way better. You should have been... you would have been cool with character transfer from it, but I figured that wasn't the thought of it. I hope D4 does it though, and the story doesn't suck. Now D4, they already announced crossplay, cross progression. I think that's going to be a big added advantage for a lot of players, console, PC. Like everybody can just kick back and play. I think that's going to get a lot of people excited, and it's coming out next year, which gives people plenty of time to kind of like get their fix from Diablo Immortal, go play other things, and then be excited about it. And they can even say like, hey, we heard you, we were going to do this and we were making these changes. So it gives them the ability to come up with a lot of really positive discussions, a lot of really positive thoughts, a lot of really positive marketing, a lot of real positive outrage, a lot of real positive, like bop it bop it bop, because you have people making the videos like Diablo 4 is going to be horrible, and then the shock face, and then oh no, and the standard YouTube laissez-faire, and then the streams, and then I quit Diablo Immortal and I did this and that, etc. And so that will all kind of feed the algorithm, especially in terms of SEO, in terms of trends, and in terms of getting the thing beyond just any kind of one culture. It's like, I like that I know so much about the YouTube algorithm and social media, and I like that I have the freedom not to be mastered by it. All right, Muppet Mania, great name. I don't know what they're going to say, but let's find out. Free to play is a tendency to cost way more than $70. Agreed. The community, from my experience, and I can't say this for everyone, tends to be more toxic when a game you have to pay up front. I don't know. There's a gatekeeping nature when it comes down to like paying up front. Free to play, maybe there's a gatekeeping nature. We'll have to wait and see if all of a sudden I start seeing people saying, you can't talk about Diablo Immortal. Only people who've invested 10,000, like if we get that, let me drop the D and embrace the Fort Worth. And when I say D, I mean Dallas. Like where you get that kind of mindset. It's like, gatekeeping, I think, is essentially just bad for the game overall in the long run. I believe in a lot of community voices, even if you don't agree with them. I think the discussion is the most important thing. Quietness is the death of the game. Kaylin says, I'm a traditional, slightly old school family. A credit card or a debit card was only for working adults. Until I had a job, I couldn't play online games unless they were free. This was not an issue because I've always been a casual player, so not having money to spend on a cash shop didn't mean that I couldn't have fun. But back then, these days, games weren't as predatory as they are now. So not letting kids play certain games where there was money meant progression was being better than the other players. That sounds like a great idea to me. At least until they play themselves. So, As a parent, I struggle with that aspect because I want my kids to understand the value of their time and the dollar and the effort. And right now my kids are fairly young, and until they're really kind of working, like honestly, I'd just rather them avoid free to play, and I'd rather us just buy a game that we're going to play together as a family. But that's obviously a different age range. You add in 10 years to all my kids, and that's a whole different discussion and conversation, because if they're going to go work and they're going to go I don't know, deliver pizzas right now, I couldn't imagine somebody doing that with gas prices. But just like I think they're about $5 in my area, a gallon. So it's like, holy smokes! Like, are you actually making money? That would be question one. Question two is like, okay, you're making money. Like, do you want to spend $5 on that game, or do you want to put a gallon of gas in your tank and have the freedom? And I think essentially when it comes down to, as long as they understand what the value is and what they're spending their money on, then like I want to teach them that. I also want to teach them not to borrow money, not to go into debt, and that's going to be a real critical thing, because man, the world wants you to go into debt like all the time. They really want you to go into debt. I think we got time for one more comment. Desmo says, this is surprising to me. People who talk about this stuff like it's a new thing. It's way worse on mobile games, namely the strategy games where you buy troops to fight. It would be nice if there was some kind of laws to limit this stuff, but in the end, it just does need to be smart with their money and their time. A free-to-play is actually really free and fun. So also to add, I'm currently a Paragon 14, and I'm probably going to quit. There are level limitations, very unbalanced PvP, and the overall endgame plan just seems to be grinding the same stuff over and over again, just dumping your time into getting bigger and bigger numbers. And that also is the looter shooter and the challenge of the looter shooter. At some point, like, numbers go up. You got to keep, investing your time, your energy, and all that stuff. And so, yeah, I think hopefully we see them tweak some monetization. I think they do, maybe when they especially add in new content. That's the thing, is that especially with these kind of games, they offers the opportunity for people to come back and check in. Content's going to be king. If they keep adding in content, if they're like, hey, we hear you, and we're making adjustments to the monetization, and we've done this, like, it gives them the ability to continue to have a lot of press coverage for a long period of time, to continue to keep Diablo in the conversation, all leading up to Diablo 4, either way. Anyway, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. I will be back next week to discuss many more things going on within gaming. I appreciate you being here. Hopefully you have a great and wonderful day, and hopefully I'll see you in my next video. But until then, take care.
Yeah. It's time to chill out on the couch and read some comments. That's right. You know me when it comes to Destiny. I'm off with the clan, and I'm glad you're feeling better. Oh yeah.